Okay, just loading that out. Are good to go.
All right. The mayor has on his headphone like an air traffic controller.
And I got my video working, maybe to y'all's chagrin, but here I am.
All right. We're glad that you're with us. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. We got off to a little bit of a late start, but appreciate the attendance by those who are with us this afternoon. I'm the vice chair of the Public Works and Utilities Committee, filling in for our chairman, Councilmember Waring. So without further ado, we'll call this meeting to order. And Mayor, would you mind leading us either in a moment of silence or an invocation, please?
All right, if y'all would just join me in a moment of silent prayer, please. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. September 11 to 2023 minutes. Here a motion for approval.
I'll move for approval.
Councilmember Bowden, can you unmute yourself and give us a second?
Second.
All right. Any changes, modifications? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes and ayes have it. So let's see. Matt, are you filling in? Matt Altop?
Yes, I'm filling in for Tom. He is at another meeting and wasn't able to attend.
All right. So request to set public hearings are none, I believe, and old business is none. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. E is acceptance and dedication of rights of ways and easements.
Yep. So it's an authorization to notify SC DOT that the city intends to accept maintenance of approximately 1,734 linear feet of sidewalk in front of the St. Andrews apartment project. It's a little bit wider sidewalk than what we normally have, but we have, Tom said it was good to go and everything's been checked on it.
I'll
So
move
this is
for approval.
on the corner of St. Andrews and Chase Street.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. I'll entertain a motion for approval of E1.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion on this matter? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Matt, anything special about F1 through 16 on temporary encroachments?
No, they're all just normal. I think there was 9 irrigation, 1 fence, and 6 right angle signs. Other than that, everything has been looked at and okayed.
All right. And that's for information purposes only. We don't need to take a vote on items F.
That's
All right.
correct.
All right. So we do not have a full complement of council members present, and item H is an update for several projects, some requested by me, 2 of them, in fact, dealing with Charleston Estates and Lake Sandhurst and Councilmember Waring. So we have item G, which is environmental services update. Is there anything on H1 through 7 that is not pressing? I'd rather have a full complement or a full complement of council members present for H1 through 7. Is that the pleasure of this committee, Mr.
Mr.
Mayor?
Chairman, if we can get a vote on H1, which is not an update, but an amendment to a professional service contract.
Okay, so I'll come back to that in just a second. But would that be the pleasure of council of this committee to defer H2 through 7 until we have a more full body of council members present? I'd rather them be here for that. Mr. Mayor?
It'd be fine with me, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
All right, so for members of the general public who are listening in, if you were here for an update on Charlestown Estates projects, Lake Sandhurst, Raw Wallenberg area pond, small project update, presentation on drainage improvements in East Oak Forest, or an update on the Hagen Avenue and Gadsden Green drainage progress, we're going to wait and do that at our next meeting, which will be October. Philip, help me out. October
9th, I think.
October 9th. Okay. probably around the same time at 5 o'clock as well. So if anybody of the general public is here listening in on that, we're going to defer those to October 9th. We're missing some key council members for that. All right. So we're going to go back to item G on our agenda, which is Public Service Department update, environmental services update. Matt?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Everything is running on time. We've got 2 new garbage trucks ordered. Those should be coming in the next 3 to 4 months. Other than that, everything is running. Pressure washing has started again on King Street. So we are got that all going.
Pressure washing on which street? I'm sorry.
King Street.
King?
Yep.
Okay. And what area does that cover, Matt? From what in starting point to the ending starting point?
Line Street to Broad Street.
All right.
Thank
Right.
you for that, by the way, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate y'all's effort to make that happen. Mr. Chairman, if I may just add this comment, and it really helps support the other efforts of the Business Improvement District for the city to be keeping up all its obligations for maintenance and along King Street as well. And this is one of those. So thank you for getting that going.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Those areas are so well traveled, and the foot traffic, obviously, even though it's cement and concrete, it does take a wear and tear, and cleaning them up does make a huge improvement for our community. So, thanks, Matt. All right, the next item is on our stormwater management department update regarding item H1, Robbery Woods. Matt Fountain. I'm looking right at you and calling you Matt Altop, but Matt Fountain.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Acting Chairman. So Barbary Woods, this is a recommendation to approve an amendment to a professional services contract with WK Dixon. This would add $40,000 in order to complete a NEPA environmental assessment. That's a requirement of the $4.6 million grant we were awarded from the South Carolina Office of Resilience. We've done a lot of the legwork in the existing environmental work on that project, but we now need to formalize it into a NEPA EA document for the state in return for that grant. It also establishes the project budget and gives authorization for staff to make future modifications of up to $100,000 without a return to Ways and Means Council.
Okay. All right. Mr. Mayor or Mr. Bowden, any questions or comments? Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I was just going to ask Matt. I know this isn't a big project for a NEPA assessment, but what do you think the timeline would be for completion?
We've done so much of the legwork already, Mr. Mayor, that the timeline's probably on the order of a couple of months for the actual work. There is still a public notice process associated with those that does take some time, but it won't slow down the project. We're just starting our Army Corps of Engineer individual permit process on that project, so we're probably at least a year of permitting to get through. So it's good timing to work through that environmental assessment.
Right. And I know this is probably a real estate committee question, but I was just curious, the progress being made on the land and or easement acquisitions that are needed for the project.
Yeah, we have completed easement acquisition on the 2 easements. We've completed a fee simple property acquisition with the South Carolina Conservation Bank on the 1 standardized fee simple acquisition, and then we're in process. We filed for the remaining parcel, which is an eminent domain parcel, and that has gone through its notice process. We're now working with the other side, the property owners attorney for producing the information necessary to look at just compensation.
Great. Thank you so much. I move
So
for approval.
Thank you. Is there a second, Councilman Bowden?
Second.
Thank you. So, Matt, we got the grant of 4.6 million, and this is just $40,000 to complete the requirements under this national act. This will help move the project along, obviously, right?
So it's a condition of the South Carolina Office of Resilience in return for accepting that funding that we complete an environmental assessment. So yes, in order to keep that 4.6 million, we need to produce that document for them to show that we're not causing any unnecessary or undue environmental harm with the project. Since it's a green infrastructure wetland resiliency project, should be relatively straightforward, but still involves a lot of investigatory work and report writing and public notice work.
Very good. So any additional comments with or questions? If not, yes, Stephen. Councilman, we can't hear you.
I don't have anything.
Okay, all right. Without further ado, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving H1, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Councilman Bowden, done an aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Aye. All any opposed? The ayes have it. Very good. All right. And then Matt, do we need to address miscellaneous business resolution to adopt the 2023 Charleston Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan?
Yes, this is just moving the resolution forward to council for the adoption of the Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan. We generally adopt it every 5 years. As they update their plan, it lets the city participate in a number of federal programs, including some of the grant applications that we go for by having a Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan in place that we do in collaboration with Charleston County and a number of the other jurisdictions in the area.
Yep. I'll entertain a motion to approve item I1.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none.
Mr.
I
Chairman,
see that with Caroline.
Councilmember Parker has her hand up.
Oh, okay. We weren't sure of what Caroline we were entertaining. Councilmember Parker, is that you?
Hey, that's me, guys. Sorry.
Okay, good. Yes. You had your
Yeah.
hand up?
Not on the committee, but if it's okay, I have a question rather than ask tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
So can you give me a little more information? I mean, I read through a bit of that mitigation plan, Mr. Fountain. Can you explain some of those properties? I think it said, approximately 1,000 addresses, but can you specifically address some of those properties, that were reported out on? And how, if they will be affected, how?
so the hazard mitigation plan is primarily just laying out a series of different hazards, basically, that the city and the region face. It identifies any properties that have been vulnerable, goes through potential mitigation strategies, but it's really a planning and organizational document, which is necessary from a federal government perspective for many of the grant programs that they want you to basically assess the data within, in this case, the entirety of Charleston County, and then determine what potential strategies would be to mitigate those hazards. Flooding obviously being one of the major hazards for our area, but there are certainly a number of other hazards as well. So it's not a specific design plan or an action plan in the sense of here is construction activity or acquisition activity. It's more like a comprehensive plan would be for the city planning department, that it sort of lays out the approaches and strategies you would take then in recommending projects potentially.
Councilmember Parker, does that answer your question?
Sure. Follow-up question, if that's
Yes,
okay.
ma'am. Sure.
So let me just pull it back up. So in here, the city was also required to provide documentation that all substantial damage, substantial improvement determinations had been completed for a randomly selected group of properties, totaling over 1,000 addresses. So I guess those are what I'm specifically curious
So I think
about.
Councilor Parker, you're discussing, I think, the other memo related to the resolution of a process we were going through with the state and federal government, rather than the hazard mitigation plan, which is the website that the county maintains that discusses like a 400-page document talking about basically how the county works through with all of its different stakeholders assessing
Yes.
properties. So I think we're on two different documents, I think.
So will that be discussed with council in further detail, or is this it?
So the other memo was basically an update to council with if there were to be any questions or recommendations to come back to staff and discuss. We can certainly do a an update, a more formal update to council if one is desired, but at this point in time, it was just an update to the council members.
And Councilwoman Parker, I just texted you earlier. We're working on a response for your to your email. We might need to just schedule a time to sit down so we can answer that more fully for you. Okay.
Okay, and I
Want
guess
to make
this
sure.
committee, I mean, I know I'm not on this committee, but I would certainly welcome further discussion. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
We appreciate your input and your questions that you have, and if you don't, we're gonna vote on this out of committee, and certainly if it's between now and tomorrow you've got more questions, bring it up tomorrow during our regular council meeting.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think the matter that she's most attuned to is not this matter, but
Right.
another one.
Yeah.
And it certainly is, we could put it on a future Public Works
Yeah.
agenda if committee chair and the committee so wishes. I think they would be happy to do that.
We can certainly do that. That was my impression too, understanding the explanation from Mr.
Right.
Fountain. And but like I said, if there's more lingering questions, we can address that. But that is not impacting our adoption, our decision to adopt this mitigation plan. What's before this committee right now.
Correct.
All right, any further discussions, questions? I think we've got a motion on the floor in a second, and all those in favor of approving item I1, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. All right. Again, for the members of the public who may be joining us a little bit later, we do not have a full complement of our committee present. We had to drag one of our council members out of the sick bed to attend, and we appreciate his attendance this afternoon. We got some business done today, but the updates regarding Charlestown Estates, Lake Sandhurst, Wallenberg area pond, small project update, East Oak Forest drainage improvements, and update on Hagan Avenue and Gadsden Green. Those items are going to be deferred until our October 9th Public Works and Utilities Committee meeting, and in all likelihood it will again be at 5 o'clock. No further business I see is before this committee. I'm filling in as vice chair for our chairman, and I will hereby declare that this meeting is adjourned. And everybody have a wonderful rest of the afternoon, and we'll see a good number of you tomorrow at